Okay, let's dive into Molly's training so we can stay consistent at home. Whenever we're working with Molly, we want to make sure to reinforce the behaviors that we're wanting from her. For example, whenever she listens to one of our new commands, if she does it properly, we want to reward that behavior with either praise, petting, or treats. That way, she understands that the training happens at home. It's just going to be just as rewarding at home like it is here at the training center. We also want to stay consistent with using her training equipment. That way, we can follow through if she decides to ignore any of our given commands. So let's dive into how to use her collars. The prong collar is going to be used whenever we have Molly on a leash. And in the beginning, you might want to have her on a leash a little bit more, maybe in the house or when she's getting used to the new routine, because I know she likes used to want to nip at our feet. This is going to be a great way to redirect that energy to something more productive. That way, we can follow through and give her the no command, follow through and say, hey, that's not appropriate here, give her something more productive to do. That way we can reward her. But how to put this on? We have to take the links apart by pushing down and through in a parallel way. And then to put them together, we're going to squeeze the links. That way they line up nice and neat. We're going to attach the leash to the D-ring. That's the one that swivels. So you want to attach it to the swivel ring. How to use this properly. Whenever we have Molly on a leash, for example, we'll talk about her heel command. Heel means walk next to us on the left-hand side on a nice loose leash. If she decides not to, we're going to say no, pop and release the leash, give that command again, heel. So she's walking ahead, no, pop, heel, and then we continue on our walk. How to use the remote collar. So this needs to be worn by Molly every single day. That way we have the ability to follow through if needed. So this has a red magnet right here. The remote has a matching red dot on the side. We're going to touch these two together. You're going to see a green light flash. That means the collar's on and ready to go. On-off button in the back. We're going to push and hold that. And then we're going to focus on the black S button. So right now, Molly's at a level 15. This level can change. It depends on her environment and what we're working on. So right now, 15 works really well. So for example, let's talk about the heel command again. She's walking next to us on a nice loose leash. All of a sudden, a car passes by and she shows way too much interest, and now she's not walking next to us where she should. No, we're going to mark that incorrect behavior with a verbal no to let her know that that is not appropriate. Push the black S button, tell her heel. We remind her to go back into the heel position. So no, heel, no, heel. So that's how we're going to follow through with any and all of our commands. Now, of course, whenever she is walking next to us and, for example, a car passes by, good heel, we are going to reward that with praise, petting, and treats. That way we're letting her know that, hey, that was a good decision to make. Make sure to keep making those decisions and you're going to get reinforced more. The more we reinforce and reward a command or behavior, the more we're going to see that behavior from Molly. The more we follow through and use these tools and equipment to correct or redirect her from doing a behavior, the less we're going to see that behavior. So rewards, more training equipment, you'll see less of. So let's go over the rest of her commands. So sit means stay until she is told free. Now this is more for like a short duration stay. For example, door manners. Whenever we walk up to a door, we're going to have her sit, open the door, and then we can tell her free to go through. We can heel with her through, or we remind her to stay by saying the command again. So the stay is implied, but sometimes she'll need reminders if we're going to do something distracting. For example, walk through the threshold of a door. We remind her sit, and then we give her the release term free, which means she is free to get up from that command. She's not in a set command. So free is the universal word of we're done with that expected behavior or command. You are free to roam around and explore. Then we have down. So down means lay down and stay in that spot. Again, we're not saying stay, but we are going to say down to remind her if we walk around and are creating a distraction. With the down stay, and this also goes for the play stay, whenever we go back to her to release her, we don't release from a distance. We always say good down, reward, and then tell her free right next to her. We don't free from 10, 15 feet away. That's practicing come when called, and we're going to talk about that in a second. If she gets up from any stay, whether it's sit, down, or place, you're going to mark that behavior with a no, follow through with the training equipment, and then put her back in that position, whether it's sit, down, or place. When she does a good job, we're always going to go back and reward her, whether it's praise, petting, or treats, to let her know that she did a good job, and then we can free her from that position. So let's talk about place. Place is going to be a really useful command in the home, especially when we're vacuuming or doing anything around the house, which would normally set Molly off and kind of kick in that herding instinct. So instead of just correcting the hurting behavior, we're redirecting her and we're showing her, hey, do this behavior and I'll reward you, versus just correcting the unwanted behavior. So we're giving her an incompatible behavior to do. When people come over, that way she's less likely to jump. When we get the vacuum out, that way she's less likely to attack the wheels or anything like that, where we just need a spot for her to hang out. Place is stay on this boundary. As long as all 4 feet are on the boundary of place, that's fine. She can sit, stand, or lay down. When we reward her, we want to make sure we put the treats on the bed because we want her to know that that boundary is the positive zone to be. Whenever we correct, say no, follow through. When you're first practicing this, you're going to use the black S button, but you also want to make sure that you have a leash on her. That way you can guide her back to the place bed in your house, because it's going to be a little bit different than here. So wherever it is, it doesn't matter, but that way we have the ability to guide her back and show her where we want her to be on place. And then of course, when it's time for her to get off, we go back to her. Good place, praise, praise, pet, free. We don't free from a distance. Then we have come when called. So this is where you're going to practice a little bit more of that freedom. So you're going to tell her free, and she is free to sniff and get distracted. When you're practicing in an open area that doesn't have a fence, or just practicing in general the first few times, I highly recommend having a 30 to 50 foot long leash on Molly in case she doesn't come to you. You're going to follow through with the remote, but you also have the ability to reel her in like a fish. So she's free, she's out, she's sniffing. Molly, come. Good girl. As she runs to you, you're going to praise that action, have her sit, and then reward. We want to reward this behavior every single time because we want to make sure she has a positive association with coming to us when we call. We're creating that reward history by giving her rewards every single time. A reward history is a positive association with doing a certain behavior because they had positive feedback consistently. So you want to reward this command every single time, especially in the beginning, because come when called is a very important command to do. Now, let's say she ignores us. She's sniffing and we call her and she's just like, no, I don't feel like coming to you. We're going to follow through with no, black S button, and then call her again. If she's still not coming to us, that's where it's important to have her reeled in. You want to practice this on a leash first before we graduate to the fully off leash, especially when you're not in a fenced-in area. Then we have leave it. Leave it just means don't grab that off the ground. So if you drop a piece of food on the ground, you say leave it. If she does, great, praise that. If she still shows interest in that item, that's where you follow through with the remote collar as needed. So we want to make sure that this is always accessible to us. That way we have the ability to communicate with her in a timely manner, because timing is super important. We can't follow through 30 seconds or 60 seconds later. It has to be in that moment. So it's important to have this readily available. That's why she needs to wear this every single day for training. So those are her commands. Remember, reward what we want to keep seeing, follow through what we don't want to see anymore. You want to have fun, stay consistent, and now we're going to show you Molly's commands. Heel. Heel. Down. Good girl. Down. Good down. Good down. Good down. Free. Good girl. Okay, let's go over the other features of her remote collar. We already know how to put this on and take it off, and we're going to put the leash on it. So with the prong collar, we don't really need much more info. We just want to make sure that it's not constantly tight like this. It's a pop and release. For the remote collar, we know how to turn it on. Let's turn it off. So same way, we're going to touch these two red dots. We're going to see a red light. Now the collar is off. I'm going to turn it back on though, just so we have it on. Button in the back, push and hold, and then push and hold to turn it back on. Perfect. So we talked about the black S button. That's going to be the button that you're going to focus on, this button right here. Now we have the red S button. That is the boost feature for emergencies only. So for example, let's say you're working on Come When Called, and like she likes to chase wheels, so she sees a tractor and it gets her interested and she starts to run towards it. No, come, you're calling her, you're correcting with this. This is going to momentarily increase the level by 15. So whatever number, I'm sorry, by 20. Whatever number is on your dial, the boost, the red button, will add 20 to it. So if your dial is at 10, it'll go to 30. If it's at 20, it'll go to 40. So the red button is for emergencies only. If you need that boost to snap her out of that adrenaline. The reason we have that is because if she's chasing something that's really interesting to her, her adrenaline goes up. The tolerance for the collar matches that. So level 15 works for your average everyday distractions, but we will go over how to change that if necessary, and the boost is for those moments where her adrenaline is spiked. So how to change level? Let's say at home, level 15 just isn't enough for her and we're having to push it over and over and over again. What we can do is turn it down. So right now it's, or turn it up, I'm sorry. So right now it's locked. We're gonna push and hold that until the 1D at the top is flashing. Now we can adjust the level to whatever we need. So let's say 15 is not working, try 20. If 20 is not working, try 25. You want to try and go up by increments of 5. So set it to the level you want and then lock it in place by pushing down and holding it until the 1D at the top is solid. And now we don't have to worry about accidentally turning it up or down if it's hanging on our neck or in our pocket or something like that. So that's how to adjust it. Now we have this T button over here. It stands for tone, but it's also set to vibrate. Now this is a good feature to use as a warning down the road. What I want you to use it for right now is before you put this collar on Molly, double check that it is on by pushing vibrate before we put this collar on Molly, because nothing's worse than having a remote collar that's not on and then you're like, why isn't she listening to our commands? And we're doing all the right things and this thing isn't on. So vibrate, make sure it's turned on. And then, of course, later down the road, you can use it as a warning for her. So the on-off button is also a flashlight. If you just tap it, remember if we push and hold it, it'll shut the remote off. But if we tap it, now she has a little flashlight on her. The M/C button over here stands for momentary or continuous. So you see the letter M on the screen. That means the S buttons right here are both momentary. No matter how long I push and hold this, it only stimulates the one time, the first click. Even if I hold it forever, it will only stimulate that one time. If you change it to continuous, when you push down and hold it, it will continuously stimulate. We use that feature for lower levels in the beginning of training, but now we're using the collar as more of a correction tool versus a showing tool. So she understands what the boundaries are. Now we have to make sure we reinforce them with saying, hey, there are consequences if you don't follow the boundaries in the commands. This is rechargeable, charging ports in the back here and underneath here. This collar is waterproof and it will reach up to a ½ mile. You just want to make sure this rubber tab is closed so dirt and debris don't get underneath there. Now, we have the short prongs on. It does come with longer prongs, but I think her hair is fairly thin, so we don't need to add those extra length prongs. So if we look in her box here, we have the charger that's going to charge both the remote and the collar at the same time. It should last about 2 days on a charge if you turn it off at night. So she can wear this collar 12 to 14 hours a day, take it off at night. Now, if she gets wet or goes swimming, you want to make sure to take the collar off and let her dry thoroughly before putting the collar back on. Not that this will be affected in any way by water, but what will happen is it has to fit snug so the contact points make good connection to her skin and so they're not rubbing and creating irritation. But if water gets trapped in there, then it could build a bacteria, which could lead to a hot spot. So we want to make sure that we keep her coat really dry, really clean. So these are the little extenders that I mentioned, but I don't think her hair really needs it. So, but you have them in case you want them. And then underneath here, we have the manual that goes over all the features in greater detail. Now this collar does have a 2-year full warranty, so for whatever reason, if it's not holding a charge or something goofy happens, just contact the company and they can walk you through a replacement process. So that is how we are going to stay consistent, all of the features of the remote collar that you need. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know, but have fun and stay consistent.